Welcome back to another edition of the Buy Low Fantasy Sports Show with Mitch and Bam on 1490 Newstalk 1077. I'm Mitch, he's Bam. Bam, say hello. So I want to start off by saying we're happy to be here. I want to thank you all for tuning in and listening. Hopefully everyone had a great week 9, and now we're moving on to week 10. Starting week 10 off, we got 6 teams on bye this week. The Patriots, the Jaguars, the Eagles, the Texans, and then 2 offensive juggernauts, the Broncos and the Redskins. So make sure to get all your guys from those 6 teams out of your lineup. You don't want to be that guy.
No, make sure you get all your Redskins out of your lineup.
Nice.
Nobody likes that guy.
All right, man. With all that being said, you ready to walk this slate?
Let's do it.
The first game we have is the Arizona Cardinals at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This game has a 52-point total, and the Bucs are favored by 4.5. Man, what you got on this one?
Oh, man. So I think this is the game you have to get right this week, which probably means we'll get it all wrong. But let's talk some injuries real quick. So on the Cardinals side, David Johnson looks like he's going to play. Chase Edmonds, the other running back, is out. And so now you got newly acquired Kenyon Drake, who just had a great game against the Niners last week. Don't know what his role is going to be. So if you're looking to play Drake, take a wild guess, I reckon.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
And so I think a mistake a lot of folks make is when they're doing this whole fantasy football thing is they like to wish cast player production. Like, for example, this wide receiver posted a huge game versus this defense. Therefore, this wide receiver who's playing the same defense will do the same.
Yeah.
You have to apply context instead of looking at the box scores. You got to see how that production came about. You have to understand as best you can how all this happened. So now, Mitch, if I told you that the Cardinals have actually been a run-heavy team using a ton of 2 tight end sets over the last month because of their really inefficient pass game, do you think that matches public perception of this offense?
No.
No, exactly. So yeah, that's the thing here is you have to look at what the team is actually doing instead of just looking at box scores and hoping for some production that might not be there.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me elaborate a little further. Let me lose the whole audience in this first segment. So the Buccaneers defensive line has a huge mismatch.
Is it bigly?
It's bigly. It's a
nice.
Bigly, huge mismatch. They have a diverse skill set on this defensive line, and the Cardinals are just awful on their offensive line.
Yep.
So the Bucs, they got power with Ndamukong Suh and Villa defensive tackles, and they got speed with Shaq Barrett and JPP on the outside.
Yeah.
Comparatively, the 49ers are a speed line. They didn't have any power to play against the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Furthermore, the Bucs have 2 of the fastest linebackers in the league with Levante David and Devin White. LSU, go Tigers, right? I think they could contain Kyler Murray's running this week. So yes, the Bucs secondary is trash and the matchup is good, but with the Bucs front 7 advantages and the Cardinals' suspect passing game and their struggles in the red zone, I don't think this is going to be the high-scoring affair everyone else thinks it'll be.
Yeah.
With all that being said, Mitch, do you like anyone from the Cards either this week or in maybe a season-long waiver ad?
Yeah, so there's a couple things I want to kind of unpack here. So first of all, Bam, you make it sound like this game is definitely going to go under. I want to make sure that the audience understands that there's definitely a path here. This, just like you mentioned, this is a great matchup for the Cardinals passing game. But like you said, we haven't seen that out of them all season long. So, but there is a path to the over here. Of course, the Buccaneers, we know what they can do offensively. And so the Cardinals do have the matchup is right for them. So moving on to kind of the season-long stuff, we're kind of hitting a point in the season where having those speculative bench players really don't help that much. You're better off having handcuffs for your studs. So if you're the David Johnson owner, we've already seen throughout his career, he's been very injury-prone. I'd go ahead and add either Kenyon Drake and or Chase Edmonds if they're available in your league right now. I imagine Drake is the long-term backup plan, but you just never know, right? Like Chase Edmonds has been there all season. Kenyon Drake's been there all of 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So, and then on the for the passing game, there's just not enough consistent volume for any of the wide receivers for them to really pan out and be a consistent starter for you. Christian Kirk is available in about 35% of ESPN leagues. He's owned in about 65%. I think that number should be north of 80%. So if you're desperate, maybe he's worth an ad, but he's just kind of meh to me.
Is he meh and blah or just meh?
Just meh.
Just meh. All right. Yeah, I get it.
He might get you 8 catches for 50 yards, which is, if you're in PPR, it's a great spot.
It's 13 points.
Yeah, tax on a touchdown for you, you're in business. But
he don't score touchdowns, so we're good.
Yeah, exactly. What you got on the Bucs offense?
Oh, well, you got to start off with the big 2 wide receivers. So wide receiver Mike Evans has been dominating volume production of late and just destroying the fantasy world last 2 weeks. I think he's got something like 75 fantasy points the last 2 weeks, something nuts like that.
Yeah.
Whereas Chris Godwin has seen his production dip a lot. Like his weighted opportunity score, that's where you combine air yards and target market share. It's below like some of like the middling wide receivers over the last few weeks.
Yeah.
Both are in play versus a Cardinals defense that has allowed the most passing touchdowns in the league. But Evans is a guy getting the volume. So do with that what you will.
Right. It's worth pointing out that in every format, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin are the wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 in across every single format that they fantasy.
So, quarterback Jabu Winston is playable if you think this game shoots out. Just beware, he's priced up in DFS this week. So, with his turnover issues, his long-standing turnover issues, his buttery fingers from those crab legs, and sticky fingers from Texan Uber drivers.
Nice.
Yeah. He does turn the ball over a lot, so he doesn't always have the great ceiling you want out of a quarterback. Plus, he's not a running quarterback, too. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And then finishing off, Bucs running back Ronald Jones was announced as the starter this week by head coach Bruce Arians. I think he's an excellent waiver pickup. Go get him now.
Yes.
And the Bucs defense, as we talked about earlier in this segment, is a great streamer. I think combining those two, Ronald Jones and the Bucs defense, is a great contrarian stack in DFS this week.
Nice. I like it. All right, moving on. The next game we have is the Chiefs at the Titans. This game has a 49.5 point total with the Chiefs favored by 5.5. What you got on this one?
Well, injury news. Patrick Mahomes is back.
He's back, baby.
Yeah, Mahomes VP, I think they call him.
Yeah.
And then on the Titans side of the ball, Titans cornerback Malcolm Butler is out with a broken wrist. So you can already tell where I'm going with this. So the Titans run a ton of zone coverage. Yep. And with their secondary injuries, this game sets up nice for Sammy Watkins. He's had something like 16 targets the last 2 weeks, getting a lot of great volume, just hasn't had those production-type games. I think he gets one this week.
Yep.
Travis Kelce's also in a good spot versus the Titans team that gives it up to the tight end pretty regular-like, but you're already going to play Kelce. I'm just reminding you to do so.
Yeah, for sure.
And then with the Chiefs back full healthy on offense for the most part, I think wide receivers Mecole Hardman and Demarcus Robinson are droppable. They're just not seeing enough snaps and volume anymore with all these guys back out.
Yeah, for sure.
And as usual, we are not playing the Chiefs' 33.8 running backs. Having said that, Mitch, are there any of these Chiefs running backs worth holding on to?
Yeah, so two in particular, Damian Williams, Shady McCoy. They've taken turns being the lead back over the past few weeks since Damian Williams has returned from his injury. So if you own either of those, I think you have to continue to hold them. Their value, as we've seen, really skyrockets in the case either one of them is injured. However, with that being said, I'm not particularly interested in chasing either of them.
Yeah.
Moving on to the Titans side, wide receiver Corey Davis is out this week, and quarterback Marcus Mariota was spotted running routes.
What's he going to do?
Yeah, he's going to suck at running routes, suck at being a wide receiver, so they're going to move him back to quarterback. Anyway, with Corey Davis being out, I think this gives a huge bump to wide receivers A.J. Brown, Adam Humphries, and to tight end Delaney Walker, who's returning from injury. Tannehill, any love for him this week?
I do like him. A good streamer. Probably get some garbage time run. With Mahomes being back, there's 0 to no hope for the Titans to put up a fight here. So, yeah, Humphries is a guy I'd probably get 8 catches in the fourth quarter,
Yeah, for sure.
Especially in PPR.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think about Derrick Henry?
Well, on paper, the matchup is nice for him, but we've seen the Chiefs quietly the last few weeks clamp down on rushing yards. And with the negative game script, could limit his opportunities because he doesn't really get a lot of work in the passing game. Yeah, he'll get some screens and checkdowns, but the way to beat the Chiefs with running backs in the passing game is some of those more down the field routes that Aaron Jones ran, for example.
Yeah.
And I think the Chiefs defense is a strong play here. It looks like they're starting to get healthy on the defensive line, and they're doing one of those rare things where they actually pay attention to what's going on and make adjustments. What? So they figured out that if we move around our defensive linemen, they can't easily figure out how to block us.
Yeah.
So it's paid dividends the last few weeks for them.
Sweet. Next game up is the Bills at the Browns. This game has a 39.5 point total, and the Browns are favored by 2.5. I know this is one of your favorite games, Bam. Go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, the game, sorry. So the Browns are going to be without their free safety Murray and defensive end Olivier Vernon, which is good for the Bills. More than that in a second.
Yeah.
So the Browns, if you allow me to go on a rant here, the Browns are a poorly coached team. And quarterback Faker Fairfield, that's his new name, has stunk it up all year.
Bam. Please tell me you have saw all of Baker's post-game conference meme from last week where he's looking like one of the wet bandits. He's looking like from one of the wet bandits from Home Alone.
Yeah, Macaulay Culkin was tweeting about it.
It is totally hilarious.
Oh, that's where we're at with Baker Mayfield this year. Just memes.
Please continue on your rant.
Yeah, so Browns head coach Freddie Kitchens, he was a running back coach the start of last year, right?
Yeah.
And then when Hugh Jackson got fired, he was the interim head coach and play caller. Now he's the head coach. That's a big leap over the course of a year.
Yeah.
So he's clearly in over his head. And so I'm confused as to why the Bills are underdogs in this game. Yeah. Having said all that, I have no interest in any Browns not named Nick Chubb, because he can go off at any time.
Yes, for sure. One key piece that we haven't talked about yet, and it's something to watch as this game unfolds, is Kareem Hunt makes his return this week.
Oh, yeah.
So that's something to definitely watch. See how he's used. Of course, his big play capability. I'm not playing him this week, but it's something to monitor, see how he's mixed in. And, of course, at any time, he's a threat to take it all the way.
Yeah, and make sure you're checking the blotter reports of the police to see if he got arrested this weekend. He's a guy that likes to take a punch at a woman, just so you know.
Oh, yeah. All right, moving on. What do you have on the Buffalo's offensive side?
Yeah, I really like Bills running back Devin Singletary. He's seen a big bump in snaps and touches the last few weeks, and he's definitely worth playing this week against that poorly coached and poorly executed and poorly thought out and poorly designed Browns run defense. So I think if he can get to like 20 touches in this spot, he has a chance for a huge upside game.
Yeah, for sure.
And then his backfield counterpart, quarterback Josh Allen, he's just not been running as much this year, and that lack of rushing yards really limited his ceiling. I think he scored north of 20 fantasy points twice this year.
Yeah.
So I don't like him in this spot either. And then wide receiver John Smokey Brown, he's another guy who can go off at any time. But the inconsistency of Josh Allen, plus the Browns corners are the lone good spot on this whole team, it has me fading him a bit this week.
Yeah.
And then the Bills defense, they're intriguing. They don't really score a lot of fantasy points, but you could pretty much count on it. You could take it to the bank that Baker Mayfield is going to suck it up here. So they're a good play this week.
For sure. All right, moving along before I have to start making a meme myself about his post-game conference.
Yeah, let's meme him up.
Yeah.
Well, better watch out, though. He's a rich kid, so his dad might sue our dad,
Oh, man, I hope not. I hope not.
I don't even have salmon-colored shorts or loafers with no socks. How am I going to compete in the court of law?
I don't think you can.
All right.
Moving on. Moving on. The next game we have is the Baltimore Ravens at the Cincinnati Bengals. This game has a 44.5 point total with the Ravens favored by 10.5. What you got on this one?
Ooh, boy. So big news here is quarterback Andy Dalton was benched before their bye week.
Yep.
And now the Ryan Finley era, who exactly, is upon us. So, yeah.
Yeah. You also have the AJ Green. Look, this week was an emotional roller coaster for the AJ Green fantasy owners. First, they announced, oh, he's coming back. He's going to play in week 10. Whoop-de-doo. That was Tuesday or Wednesday. And then Thursday came along, and oh, no, they're not sure he can go this week. He might play. And then Thursday night, he had a major setback. He's out indefinitely. Bam, is he droppable now?
Yes. I don't know why you held on them this long. Yeah, it's one of those things where we like to tell ourselves a story like, yeah, when AJ Green gets back in this offense, a lot of volume, he's going to go nuts. Well, the only nuts he's going to be eating at home on his couch.
Nice. With that being said, Alex Erickson.
Who?
He's the number 3 wide receiver for the Cincinnati Bengals offense. He's less than 5% owned in all ESPN leagues. He's 3rd on the team in routes ran and targets the past 3 weeks. Now, if you've got an open roster spot and just need a warm body to fill it, say you're a guy that loaded up on all of those players have bye weeks this week, right? You just need a warm body to plug into your lineup. He's worth a flyer, I think. But past that, I don't see any other waiver ads coming from this game.
To that, I say a la-di-da and a whoop-de-doo, yeah.
For sure. What you got on Baltimore's offense?
All right. So this is the part of the game I like. So Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson was limited all week with an illness. Hopefully he's not been hanging out with Sam Darnold. He got mono. Maybe they're kissing on the same broad or kissing on each other. You know, it is the new millennium.
Right.
The world views things differently now.
It is 2019. We don't judge here at Buy Low Fantasy Sports.
It's the current year, yes. But seriously, he ran for over 150 yards the last time these two teams played. But I think it's hard to see a ceiling game for him here with it's most likely going to be limited passing volume if they get up on like 20 points on the Bengals. He's not going to throw the ball 30 times to hit that ceiling.
Yeah.
So while I have zero faith in the Bengals secondary, will Mark Andrews, Hollywood Brown, and the crew get enough run here to pay off, get enough targets and volume? I don't think so. I mean, you obviously got to play your guys, but Hollywood Brown's benchable. You ain't got to.
Yeah, for sure.
And then Ravens running back Mark Ingram, he's in an interesting situation this week. So the Bengals defense is horrible. God-awful, terrible, disgusting, repugnant. However, there are a few things they're good at. The runs inside the tackles, they usually defend pretty well. And it's runs to the outside of the tackles where they really get destroyed. 90% of Mark Ingram's carries have come in between the tackles. So I'd rather play the Ravens' true running back one who gets the outside carries, and that's Lamar Jackson, the quarterback. That's who I'd rather play.
Nice. Go ahead. I think you can go ahead and stack up them and the Ravens defense, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens defense. We usually see that nice correlation between running backs and defenses, but I think the real correlation in this game is Lamar Jackson and the Ravens defense. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it. You just throw in Lamar Jackson, get some Mark Andrews in there if you're feeling frisky, and the Ravens defense, you already got a third of your cash game lineup in DFS.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Up next, we have the Jets at the Giants. This is a New York game. 44.5 point total. Giants are favored by 3. What you got on this one?
Oh, boy. So head coach Adam Gase, your boy,
yes,
says that tight end Chris Herndon and running back Le'Veon Bell are both good to go. But we all know how he likes to Gase-light. Get it? Gase-light.
Yes.
The entire fantasy football community. So are they truly ready to carry a full workload this week? Are they going to do anything this week? Who knows?
Yeah,
who knows? So I guess that begs the question here. What do we do about the Jets offense?
I have no idea. No,
Yeah.
in all seriousness, right? They were in the mother of all matchups last week with the Miami Dolphins. They should have, all of them should have went off. They all should have had 30-point games, and we just saw them flop. Now, of course, they go into this game. The Giants are not much better on defense. They're a smidgen better, but not a whole lot. But I just don't trust any of the Jets' offensive players. They literally lost to the Dolphins, who are trying to lose. The Dolphins are trying to lose.
Yeah,
and
they're
the
going to lose
Jets
to a team they're trying to lose.
So I don't think I'm going after any of the Jets' offensive pieces this week.
Yeah, I guess the only guy that's really worth considering is Jamison Crowder. We saw him have a ton of checkdowns last week. Had about something like 10 catches, something like that. So I think he's worthy of playing here on out because if they're just going to check it down to him all day, you can't ignore that volume.
Yeah, especially in PPR formats, yeah.
Yeah. And then Robbie is a guy you want to like. He has a nice high ADOT, but Darnold just keeps getting different sexually transmitted diseases, so you can't trust him to throw the ball.
Yeah, for sure. What about the Giants' offensive side?
Yeah, on the Giants' offensive side, you got Danny Pennies. He only really seems to do well in great matchups, and guess what? This is a great matchup.
Yeah.
So maybe he goes back to the bank and cashes all this penny into dimes again, but most likely it'll probably be nickels.
Right.
Bark is always in play. Ignore the bad matchup hype. People look at box scores and versus stats and say, well, the Jets don't really give it up to running back. They do. Yep. So bet on the volume here with Bark. You're obviously going to play him.
Yeah, for sure. And then with from the wide receiver position and tight end too. So Sterling Shepard, he's out indefinitely. He's had multiple head injuries, multiple concussions. Definitely hope he is able to make a full recovery there, get back in the game. And then you have Evan Ingram. He's also out. He has some lower leg injury. His status is unknown moving forward. I'm going to go ahead and pick up Darius Slayton in season long. He's owned in about 15% of ESPN leagues. The Giants have a very favorable rest of the season as far as pass defenses go. So
nice schedule, huh?
Yeah. Very, very favorable. So Darius Slayton is a guy I think you can take a stab on. He may be a good spot start this week. What do you think?
Yeah, I like it. He gets down the field. He gets those down the field looks. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. And I think you could. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was going to say you can take a stab at the Giants' defense in this game. They're the sneaky sleeper streamer this week, the Triple S play.
Nice.
As this Jets offense, as we alluded to, because we couldn't figure out what to do with them, they aren't good.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's check out the news from 1490 News Talk 1077. When we come back, we'll continue our Week 10 Slate Walk. Take her away. Welcome back to the Buy Low Fantasy Sports Show on 1490 News Talk 1077. Bam, you ready to continue our Week 10 Slate Walk?
Yeah, I need some exercise. Let's keep walking.
Nice. All right, up next we have the Falcons at the Saints. This game has a 51.5 point total with the Saints favored by 13.5. What you got on this one, Bam?
Oh, man. So I think a lot of people will hope for a shootout here, but there's a huge mismatch in favor of the Saints line on both sides of the ball. More on that in a minute.
Nice.
So on the Saints side of the ball, the offensive side of the ball, yep. Drew Brees threw 43 times when they smashed the Cards a few weeks back. So I don't think volume is going to be an issue here if they get ahead. So go ahead, play Brees. Hopefully you get some points for you after you've been sitting on your bench all year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Mike Thomas, Ted Ginn, and Jared Cook all set up nice versus this garbage Falcons secondary.
Yeah.
I think Ted Ginn is a triple S play. Sneaky sleeper streamer.
Wait.
Because he can get those down the field looks, and that's where the Falcons are getting burned by, like, Will Fuller, DK Metcalf types the last few weeks. So I think Ginn's a good play here.
Yeah, for sure.
Running back Alvin Kamara is back after missing 2 games before the bye. I think he gets enough pass game volume for a ceiling game here. Here's a fun fact. Alvin Kamara has never scored a touchdown against the Falcons.
Never?
Not once. Never. Wow. Never, ever.
Wow.
I know. Isn't that weird? So he's obviously going to score 4 here to level it out. And if you think the Saints blow them out here, if you trust the Vegas total, Latavius Murray is also playable. But he's just not going to see the same volume he did before Kamara got back. So probably a decent flex play this week.
Yeah, for sure.
So what do you like about this Falcons offense, if anything?
Yeah, Matt Ryan, he's coming back. He's been limited with that ankle injury all week, but I think he's going to go ahead and play. Seems likely that the Falcons are going to have to play from behind. So I like Calvin Ridley, Austin Hooper for their respective roles. I think Ryan's going to have to check it down pretty quick. That tends to benefit Calvin Ridley, Austin Hooper, those guys, because of that bad Falcons O-line versus this really good Saints defensive line. So I definitely think Hooper is a great PPR play this week. And then, of course, you have Marshawn Lattimore. He's going to be covering up Julio Jones. So it's tough to trust a wide receiver against Lattimore, but Julio does have the skills. Of course, you got to fire him up if you own him in.
Yeah, Mount St. Julio can erupt at any time.
Yeah, for sure. One guy that I really like as a waiver pickup for season long is Russell Gage, wide receiver for the Falcons. He stepped into the Mohamed Sanu role after Sanu was traded to Pats. He had 7 catches for 58 yards against the Seahawks 2 weeks ago before their bye week with Matt Schaub as their quarterback.
Oof.
That Sanu role doesn't really generate a lot of fantasy value outside of deep PPR leagues, but if you need a guy, there you go.
Yeah, there's a guy for sure. He's definitely a guy.
Yeah.
And then given this mismatches we talked about on both sides of the ball, I think the Saints defense is a great play here. You just worry about them losing points at the end of the game like the Vikings did week 1 and a couple of the teams that played the Falcons, because the Falcons will get some garbage time run because regardless of their struggles, they have some talented pieces on offense. They can put up some points given the opportunity. So
yeah, for sure.
Just be careful.
Yep. All right, moving on. Next game we have on this slate is the Lions at the Bears. This game has a 41-point total with the Bears favored by 3. The Bears are favored in a game this year. Huh.
Wow, that's weird.
What you got on this one?
Oh, man. So Bears quarterback Mitch Bortles, he went back in time and merged his quarterbacking play with the late, great Blake Bortles.
Nice.
So he's bad.
Yeah.
Like really bad. Yeah. Like terror bad. That's how bad he's been playing.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else to say about him. He's been struggling all year. Hasn't got it done, so you just wonder when he's going to be benched for Chase Daniels.
Yeah, for sure.
Could come at any time, even this week. So if you've held onto him this long, you're a stubborn fantasy player, and I respect you for that, but it might be time to move on.
Yeah, for sure.
And then wide receiver Allen Robinson continues to receive double-digit targets, which is in line with wide receiver 1 numbers, but Drew Bortles has been so bad, it's really killed the value of his whole offense.
Yeah.
So for now, you could probably keep Allen Robinson in the wide receiver 2 category. Maybe he has a splash game here or there, but for the most part, it's really up and down. Yeah,
you're just basing it all on volume, not necessarily good volume, I guess.
Yeah. 3 down wobbly check down or 3-yard wobbly check down isn't probably the best production for a receiver, you know?
Yeah, for sure. What do you think about the Bears running back situation?
Well, the Lions have been getting blasted by running backs of the last month. So go ahead and fire up David Montgomery again. You know, he's getting 30 touches a game. So you got to bank on that volume. I like him here.
Yeah. And the Bears defense, I think of Bears being pointed out, right? They've given up a lot of production over the past few games. But I don't want people to get it twisted. This is a really good unit. The problem is they spend so long on the field because of those struggles, like you mentioned with Mitch Trubisky just playing so terrible.
True Bortles?
Yeah, True Bortles.
Okay,
Sorry about that. Last week, the Eagles had 41 minutes time of possession. That means their offense possessed the ball for 41 minutes of a 60-minute game. They doubled up how long the Bears had the ball there. So it's insane to me. So with the Bears giving it up, even though they are a tough defense, what do you make of this Lions offense?
Right. So Matt Stafford's been playing his butt off over the last month. He's been on fire.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to stop playing him here. I know the quote-unquote matchup's bad, but we know True Bortles is going to True Bortles it up and not play well, and the time of possession is probably going to be in their favor. And yes, I'm aware that Stafford traditionally doesn't do well against the Bears. However, this is his first offensive coordinator in like 7 years, and he's really thrived in this new system, throwing the ball down the field. So I like him here. And I like to pair him up with Kenny Golladay, Marvin Jones. They seem to take turns blowing up. So if you're following the calendar of who blows up week to week, it's Kenny Galladay's turn.
Nice.
And then T.J. Hawkinson, he's a guy that, we've been hoping he's going to repeat that week 1 performance, and it just hasn't happened yet. So I think if you can find a replacement for him, go ahead and do it. Maybe keep him as your tight end too if you're desperate. But in most places, I'm moving on. And wide receiver Danny Amendola, if he's available, I'd pick him up. He didn't have a great game last week like we predicted. All the production went to Marvin Jones and Kenny Golladay. But the Bears give it up to the slot pretty regularly, so I think he's in a good spot here.
Yeah. In all of that, though, I didn't hear you mention anything about the Lions running back situation. What's your thoughts there?
Oh, dear Lord, no. No, thank you. Not touching it. I don't want it. Get it away from me.
Nice.
That's how I feel about the Lions running backs.
Nice.
And I think both defenses are in play here in such a low total game. That's always the type of games you like to target when looking for a defense. You want to look for pressure and bad quarterback play. The Bears bring pressure. The Bears have historically bad quarterback play. So that tells you what to do there.
Nice. All right. Anything else on that one?
No, let's keep going.
All right. Up next, we have the Dolphins, who got their first win last week against the New York Jets.
Somebody's survivor pool was destroyed last week. Yeah, I'm going to take the Jets in week 10. It's going to be cool.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So the Dolphins are playing at the Colts. This game has a 44.5 point total. The Colts are favored by 11. What you got in this one?
Yuck. Well, on the Dolphins side of the ball, there's not much to talk about since wide receiver Preston Williams went out. Tight end Mike Gesicki has seen a bump in snaps, routes, and targets. I think he's working the ad with the tight end position being so gross this year. Like, for example, you got T.J. Hawkinson. He's not really producing for you. You probably grab Mike Gesicki and probably get the same amount of production, maybe even a little better.
Yeah. And, I think it's worth pointing out, Hunter Henry, listen to this. Hunter Henry is still before Thursday night's game. That's obviously going to give him a little bit of bump. I don't want to compare that yet. But before that, he was still the tight end 9 in season long, even missing 3 games.
Yeah. That's how bad tight end is.
Yeah, tight end is a mess. So, yeah, go ahead and take a stab on maybe Devontae Parker, maybe Gesicki. Call it a day on the Finns offense.
Yeah.
I think that's
call it a season.
Yeah, right, for sure. And I'd go ahead and add Zach Pascal, the Colts wide receiver. I think he's a must-add now. What do you think about him?
I like him. There's a good chance that T.Y. Hilton misses a few more weeks, and he's filled in well, admirably, if you will, as the wide receiver 1 in T.Y. Hilton's stead. I think Chester Rogers becomes a wide receiver 2 with Paris Campbell. Going to miss some time. So I think he's worth an ad if you need a wide receiver. There you go.
Yeah. So on the Colts offensive side, obviously Jacoby Brissett, he is a game time decision for this game. So make sure you're following.
So the brisket's not done yet.
Yeah, we don't know for sure.
It's about 195. It needs to be about 205 for it's done. I got you.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know yet. It might be ready by game time. We ain't for sure. So
make sure you get out your meat probe.
Yeah, for sure. So, but on the Colts offensive side overall, I'm firing all those guys up. I'm comfortable saying start every single one of them. this is a plus matchup for everyone, as the Dolphins are at the bottom of the league in every defensive stat. Brian Hoyer will be filling in for Jacoby Brisket in the event he can't go, and he's played pretty well. He's a decent streamer option here.
Yeah, he won't kill you.
You have the tight ends, Jack Doyle. He's in a good spot here, and Eric Ebron. He had a heart-to-heart with head coach Frank Reich earlier this week. So now we have that little bit of a squeaky wheel narrative.
Oh, squeaky wheel narrative.
Yeah,
I like those.
Now, Marlon Mack is an interesting one to me. What do you think about Marlon Mack this week?
Well, he gets to go against the lowly Dolphins laughingstock defense that have allowed 5 running backs to eclipse 100 yards this year. So if you're a frustrated Marlon Mack owner, I know he hasn't performed up to par this year. Most of that is the passing game hasn't really given him a lot of room to operate. However, he gets one of the best matchups in the league this week. They're big favorites. This is a spot to play him.
Yeah.
Same with the Colts defense. They haven't really been producing all year, but they get the mother of all matchups here, so you got to play them if they're available.
Yeah, and of course we know Ryan Fitzpatrick. He could throw 5 touchdowns just as easily as he could throw 5 interceptions. So
yeah, that beard gets in the way.
That's right. All right, moving on. Next game we have on the slate is the Carolina Panthers at the Green Bay Packers. This game has a 47-point total with the Packers favored by 5. What you got on this one?
Well, I think you have to start off on the Panthers side with Christian McCaffrey. He's matchup proof. So you're obviously going to play him. So I know what you're thinking. Why are you talking about Christian McCaffrey? Yeah. Well, I think his heavy volume, all the targets and carries and everything he gets, I think that limits the passing game as a whole because there's not a whole lot of volume after him.
Yep.
So wide receivers Curtis Samuel, who has a hammy this week, by the way, so watch out for that. And DJ Moore, I think they need a big touchdown to truly pay off for you any given week. And it's hard to predict those touchdowns for wide receivers.
Yeah.
Also, the Packers have been hemorrhaging production to tight ends, so I like Greg Olsen in this spot if you assume the wide receivers can't get it going, which I don't think they do.
Yeah. What about on the Pack side?
Oh, man. So here's a fun fact about quarterback Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. This year, in this new offense, he seems to only put up decent fantasy scores against bad defenses. He's averaging 32 points per game against the Eagles, the Raiders, and the Chiefs, but 13 points per game against everyone else.
Nice.
So I think the Panthers and everywhere else. We'll see.
Yeah.
We never tell you to sit Rodgers, but this doesn't set up well for the Packers' pass offense against a talented Panthers pass defense who get their best pass rusher back this week, Mario Addison.
Yeah.
And then the Panthers' run defense, on the other hand, is not good. They allow an average of 130 yards and 2 touchdowns to running backs this year. Aaron Jones has been overperforming in the touchdown department, but he and Jamal Williams see plenty of volume, so go ahead and play them. You're not going to be disappointed in them. Play them both. And fade the wide receivers and tight ends for the Packers.
Yeah.
What are you doing about these two defenses?
Yeah, I think both of them are in play. This is a good spot for both of them, I think, and especially the Panthers. They're going really under the radar for some reason. I think it's because of the matchup with Aaron Rodgers. They are a triple S defense for me this week, DST this week. Sneaky sleeper streamers. Maybe only 2 S's, though, since they're not really a sleeper.
Yeah, people are kind of on them, yeah.
Yeah, and they're really not – I think they're owned in just about every league, so they're probably not really a streamer either.
No.
And they've been doing really well all year, so they're probably not sneaky either.
No.
So you know what? Never mind. Just play it.
Yeah, just play them. Yeah, just play them. That didn't work out, did it?
No, it didn't. So, I think this game is really easy for me. I'm playing all the running backs, all the defenses.
Yeah, I like it. Mix in a spot here there if you feel like it.
Yeah. All right, moving on. The next game is the Rams at the Steelers. This game has a 43.5-point total, and the Rams are favored by 4. What you got on this one?
Kind of hate this game, but I kind of like it at the same time. Just like
you got
my
a
life.
love-hate relationship with it?
Yeah, just like my life. Love, hate it. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway, so a little quick injury update. Wide receiver Brandon Cooks for the Rams is out. He's been battling concussions, so hopefully he gets right at some point this year. And a little side note, the Steelers defense, under the direction of dunderhead defensive coordinator Keith Butler, for 3+ years now, they cannot seem to figure out how to cover slot wide receivers or tight ends. They insist on putting linebackers on slot wide receivers. I have no idea why.
Yeah.
So wide receiver Cooper Kupp and tight end Gerald Everett are both great plays, but it should be noted that they both compete for the same type of volume, that over-the-middle volume. So it's unlikely both have a great game here. So you really got to flip a coin to see who has a blow-up game.
Yeah, I like it.
And then running back James Conner is out again. And so they have a tight end playing running back, Jalen Samuels. So he'll have 8 carries for 10 yards and catch 15 passes. So great PPR play, but not so great in standard or half. And then quarterback Mason Rudolph, he's neither a good bricklayer or a good reindeer. And he's most certainly not a good quarterback.
Yes.
So hopefully you're not desperate enough to play him. I'd avoid him.
Yeah, don't you have some kind of rule about occupations, right?
Yeah, I don't trust a quarterback who has an occupation for a first name. I just don't do it.
Yeah,
I don't care. I don't know if a guy whose name Engineer Stevenson, I wouldn't play him either.
Nice.
No.
Don't run out and name your kids engineers, please.
No, don't do that. There's enough weird names out there.
Yeah, for sure.
So keep it going with the Steelers offense. I think wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster, he should avoid Rams cornerback Jalen Ramsey for the majority of his routes because he lines up in the slot a good chunk of the time. But he's just not had enough volume this year to be fantasy relevant. So if you're one of the poor souls that paid a second-round pick for him this year, what are you going to do?
Yeah, I mean,
what are you going to do?
You got to start him because, I mean, yeah, you paid up for him, but yeah.
Yeah. And then I kind of sort of like tight end Vance McDonald, kind of sort of. I'm not committed. We went on one date. It was okay. The volume's there, and Steelers quarterback Mason Rudolph loves to check it down. Yep. He loves to. I mean, seriously, get you a girl who loves checking down, or get you a girl who loves you like Mason Rudolph loves checking down the football. I'll tell you what.
Nice.
Yeah, I messed up the joke, but it's still good.
Yeah.
That boy loves checking down the ball. That's all I'm saying.
For sure. I think the Rams defense is in a good spot here. They got Jalen Ramsey came over a couple weeks ago. The Steelers are obviously playing Mason Rudolph at quarterback. They're down 87 running backs and relying on that tight end convert, like you mentioned. I think the Rams defense is in a good spot here.
Yeah, I like him.
Yeah. And then it's also worth pointing out that the Steelers defense has produced double-digit fantasy points for 5 straight weeks now.
Yeah.
So if you think the bad version of Jared Goff shows up here, I think they're a good play.
Yeah, I don't think the good version of Jared Goff has shown up all year, so I think we'll probably get the mediocre version.
Yeah, for sure. All right, let's move it on. Up next, we have the Vikings at the Cowboys on Sunday Night Football. Game has a 48-point total, and the Cowboys are favored by 3. What you got on this one?
Well, quick injury note. Wide receiver Adam Thielen is out, so I think that changes how we're going to attack this game a bit.
Yep.
I think this is a game a lot of folks will get wrong since the public perception seems to be that these are 2 good defenses, and the numbers just don't bear that out.
Yeah.
The Vikings offense is very concentrated with Dalvin Cook, Stephon Diggs, but you also mix in some ancillary pieces like tight ends Kyle Rudolph and Irv Smith, and then BC Jones becomes another 2 wide receiver with Thielen out.
Yeah. And it's worth pointing out, Laquan Treadwell actually led the team in receiving last week. So with Thielen, after Thielen left. Yeah. But yeah, for sure. I mean, if the Vikings had their way, Kirk Cousins' job would be to literally hand the ball off to Dalvin Cook 113 times per game.
That's a big number.
Yeah. I mean, they just call it a day handing the ball off, 100+ times. But this is the NFL, though, and, of course, you can't do that, so he'll throw the ball about a dozen times. Those usually go towards Stephon Diggs with Thielen out, so, of course, mix in those other pieces that Bam just mentioned at your own risk.
Yeah. Well, so play Dalvin Cook is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Or what do you have on the Cowboys offense?
So, yeah, quarterback Dak Prescott has cooled off a bit since his early season blow-up. But with the Cowboys' dominant offensive line and that Vikings secondary having issues, I think this game sets up nice for him. I think it's a good blow-up spot for him.
Yeah.
With wide receiver Amari Cooper banged up, we keep hearing about this Mike Gallup blow-up spot. I've been hearing about it since week 1. Oh, man, he leads the league in targets and air yards and air target yards and yards after target air. All these different stats. In that game, it just hasn't happened yet. So is this the spot? Are you going to keep hoping for him to blow up? Maybe.
Yeah.
I'd play him.
Yeah.
Because I'm a sucker for those stats.
For sure.
And then tight ends, Jason Witten and Blake Jarwin are decent streamers at tight end. Jarwin had the long touchdown last week, so probably don't want to play him here because he only scores a touchdown every other week.
Yeah, for sure. And of course, it bears mentioning that Ezekiel Elliott, he's one of the fantasy studs.
The Ewok.
Yeah, the Ewok. He just hasn't had the touchdown production on this.
Yeah, ever since he got back from Endor, he just hasn't been playing the same.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else on this one?
No.
All right. Last on the list, we have the Seahawks at the 49ers on Monday Night Football.
Night Football.
Nice. This game has a 47-point total, and the Niners are favored by 6. What you got on this one?
I think this is an interesting game a little bit. The Niners get some guys back from injury. Left tackle Joe Staley, right tackle Mike McGlinchey, and fullback Kyle Juszczyk. So this running game is going to be at full strength for this matchup.
Nice.
Here's a side note for you. Back in 2016, when Kyle Shanahan was the offensive coordinator of the Falcons, they played the Seahawks in Seattle, who at that point were a top 3 defense. Shanahan designed passes to the running backs to exploit those holes in the Hawks' cover 3 defense. They still run the same cover 3 defense. Nice. All of that to say, I like both Coleman and Breida this week. Nice. Yeah, I think if they don't get it there in the run, they'll get it there in the passing game this week, I think.
Yeah.
And then this is also a great spot for Jimmy GQ. Just win, baby. Whatever he said to Aaron Andrews. That was funny. And Emmanuel, girl named Sanders. Yeah. And I'd even say that Sanders would probably going to be a top 10 wide receiver this week if George Kittle misses. So make sure you check those injuries heading into tomorrow. Woo. Yes, Emmanuel Sanders, top 10 wide receiver. I'm calling you. Heard it here.
Bold prediction.
Yeah, so I like Jimmy G for all the reasons listed above.
Yeah.
And then wide receiver Deebo Samuel. That's one of Mitch's boys.
Yes.
He should get a volume bump here with no Kittle. What do you think from a season-long perspective, this Niners offense? Do you see any good value out there on waivers?
No, like you mentioned, Sanders, he's owned in 90% of leagues. George Kittle, it's a concentrated passing offense to those two guys, Sanders and Kittle, and they're owned everywhere. So I don't really see a lot of value unless you see an injury to one of those guys, like on a week-to-week basis, like you mentioned, Deebo Samuel. But yeah, I'm not reaching for any of those guys.
So it's just meh.
Meh. Yeah.
All right, I got you.
As man, blah.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, I'm with you.
What about the Seahawks side?
Oh, so I got a fun fact for Russell Wilson.
Uh-huh.
So when he's throwing the ball, he's league average in passer rating versus man coverage.
Yep.
However, he has a top 5 quarterback rating versus zone coverage.
Ooh.
Guess what the Niners play 90% of the time? Zone coverage.
Nice.
Even more specific, they play the same zone, cover 3 zone scheme that the Hawks do. So Russ is already practicing against this scheme all the time. He knows it in and out.
Yeah.
So I like Russ a lot this week.
Nice.
And then the 49ers wide 9 defensive front has shown some holes in the running game. Carson sets up nice here to have a rebound after last week's disappointing showing. So what are we doing about these Hawks wide receivers now that they've acquired Josh Gordon?
Well, Josh Gordon's already hurt.
Yeah, already hurt. Why did the Patriots cut him? I don't know. Couldn't stay healthy.
Yeah, he was only on the injured reserve there anyways. Yeah, Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, we've seen big volume bumps for them over the past couple weeks. I think you fire those two guys up and call it a day.
Yeah, I like it. Little side note, though, DK Metcalf is he's taken over more slot work since Will Dissly's been injured, and he's getting those quote-unquote tight end routes over the middle.
Yeah.
So do with that information what you will.
Yeah, for sure.
And play the Niners defense and log out.
Yep, for sure. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the Buy Low Fantasy Sports Show with Mitch and Bam on 1490 News Talk 1077. Good luck in your Week 10 fantasy adventures. I'm Mitch. He's Bam. We're out.
Bye-bye.
And it's worth noting, Epstein did not kill himself.